Good night. How was tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J.S. Divine. I'm going to give you a little shout news on tonight. We're going to start with the nurses in New York City in the hospital. You know, nurses go on strike, in New York City. Thousands of New York City nurses on a strike. So a time of period increase in wages. That is a huge increase in wages, and these nurses have turned that down because the thing that they tell me is the striking point for them are safety issues for their patient. So they went on the strike not because of wages, because they have concern for the patient. So they want everyone to know this is not about the wages. You know, they want safe staff here. They are worried about the patient. Are being taken care of the quality and care, and they want those ratios to be lower. So they want everyone to know the strike is not about wages increase. It's about the concern for the patient. So this is what the striking point of this is. You know, they want staff raises. They want the hospital to respond when they don't meet those ratios. So they spoke with the NICU nurse. Who said that there are days that she is taking care of 4 and 5 babies. Now this is in NICU unit. They should have enough staff up in there, in that department. So she said they short of staff. Well, she had 1 and 4 babies sometimes she had to see about. So it's an intensive care unit, and their babies are tiny, and that's a highly skilled job. You know, when you in that department now, you have to really be on your toes, in that department now, because that's a critical part of what people have surgery, and sometimes, they bad at making it. So why should our babies suffer at the hands of the hospital? So when it comes to staff, so when you look at what those ratios should be for safe practice, they're really not a standard out out there in the country. So there only one state. They say there's only one state, and that's California. So when they hire, they have guidelines written into law. And that's how you have to do. You know, when you have a business, you got to worry about the oops and outs that gonna come up, that gonna show up. You got to put all that in your contract. It says California is the only state that put all kinds of stuff in their contract for times like this. You know, so the NICU unit, standards that they have is one nurse. You know, for two every 2 babies. And we see. So this California guidelines. And so what these nurses are asking for is what that language, to be explicitly written into their contract, and for it to be enforceable. You know, you have to put it in a contract, and then it has to be enforced when needed. And that I advise all the hospitals. You know, so when you hiring these nurses and you hiring these doctors, you need to write up a contract that will put all that in there. When you fall short in different departments, that should be in your contract. Okay, I need you to step over here. I need you to go over here. If it's not in their contract, that's what they ain't gonna want to do nothing else. Oh, that's not part of my job. You know, they feel like it's not part of my job. They're not gonna do it. But if you put it in your contract for times like this when it's shorthand, they don't have no other choice, but you have to enforce that for them to do it if you put it in your contract. So they won't actually teach to the agreement when it comes to staffing ratio. So they don't believe that there are a shortage of nurses. They just think nurses don't want to work in an environment like this anymore. So and in the meantime, they wondering about like the day of day consequences of the strike for patients. They said the doctors are working overtime. So that hospital is just really busy and they're short of nurse, and the nurses they have, it's not treating the patients right. You shut a nurse where you got some of NIC unit, you got a lady working with one and 4 and 5 babies at one time. So they say with a lot of these hospitals, they brought in some traveling nurses, and that's a good thing. I know somebody was traveling, filling in for nurses and stuff. So that is a good thing. This hospital short of nurses. That's a good idea to have traveling nurses. As long as they got their license, that'd be a good idea to help out. So they had the nurses that were already on staff beginning to train those traveling nurses. So that's good. You got the travel nurses coming in and the staff that there, training, training them to help y'all out. So advancing and this strike could happen. They also moved their most vulnerable patient out of some of the hospital into other hospitals. Just to be careful. So NIC unit, babies remove surgeries that were supposed to happen that could reschedule. So you got babies supposed to have surgery, but it got rescheduled. So this is critical. This is critical that the UICU department, the unit, is short-handed like this here. That's a critical department, to be rescheduled surgery, so don't have enough nurses to take care of the babies that's in there. So things like that because they knew that the hospital would be stranded. So that's California. Put that stuff in their contract, and I advise all the hospitals do the same thing. Write your contract up. So in a time like this here, you have to start enforcing the rules. They are saying that they are in the middle of a traumatic. Where we seeing the numbers of people in the hospital higher and it's raising the hospital are busy. You know, so the hospital is busy. You get so many people in there, and then you short the nurses. Now since they have to move these people to other places, it's really putting a strain on the system. They also saying when you go into the hospital, and nurses are overwhelmed. We feel like they're overworked, and they feel like they can't give each patient the best version of themselves because they're spread out thin. But family themselves is spending so much time in research and emotional stress trying to make sure their loved one is looking out. And see, they say they got the patients, they have the family there. The family is helping out and doing so much because they see the shortages there. So you got so many parents there, it's helping out due to the shortage of the nurse. So the nurses, um, so the so the nurses on strike. Not because of the wages. They is worrying about the patient. Which is a good thing. They're worrying about the patient. So that are being taken. It's not being taken care of in a way that has quality of. Uh, they don't have quality work. Of helping these people. It's lack of help. Like one lady said, she taking care of one and four of them at one time. So this is why they're on strike. Then I see Unicare. Nurses is taking care of 4 and 5 babies at one time. This is a higher skill position and a critical position that anyone and look after. You're supposed to look at everyone that's in that care unit. That's a critical position that you have, and you have to really take it serious. So California have guidelines written. into law, into their contract, languages and standards that one nurse for every two NICU babies. So they wrote up a contract, and when the time like that, they enforce it. So you stating you don't believe a shortage of nurse, that you think the nurse don't want to work in that environment. Doctors are working overtime, to also brought in some traveling nurses, which is good. First, all hospitals need to write a contract. All the hospitals need to write a contract. You know, um, in case like this happen again, nurses will step in when needed. You know, so you got to have enough nurse at different departments, especially in IC unit. Special in inside C unit. Shortage in that care unit. You have to really find someone to work in that care unit. So I think bringing a traveling nurse are good to help out. So we have to think about the family. You know, the family. They're not in the hospital for free. They have to pay for that. They have to pay for their loved ones. To be in the hospital. So if you don't have enough nurses, it's good to bring in um every patient that needs to be looked at. Do the best. Do the best as you can. Because you have these families, they're paying for their loved ones to be there. So they need quality work. So I advise all the hospitals, to try to write up a contract like the state California. Try to write up a contract. So in a time like this, you're able to have enough people at different departments. For when you fall short, you got a situation where you're overwhelmed, you have enough people to put here and put there. So kind of write up a contract, all the hospitals, and then when that time comes, you'll be able to force that rule. So that's all the short news I have for you today, and I'll see y'all in the next video.